our vote as Nigerians and assess how either they have performed or they will perform when they are in the position. Today, I have a wonderful, interesting personality in the studio. His name is James Akporero. Now, let me give you a little bit of his dossier. He's an architect, finished architecture, went back to secondary school, wrote the arts, went to become a lawyer, got admission, became a lawyer. He's an author, has a book on the internet called Building a Nigerian Dream. He said the footprints of a visionary. Presently studying mathematics, 200 level at Delta State University. He's presently the secretary SDP Delta State. He contested for House of Rep member in 2011.
I think I've also contested for a Senate one time.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes. I am for Senate. Please, when you are done studying mathematics, please study Nigeria for us.
I've been studying Nigeria all my life.
Architect barrister James Akporero, you're welcome. Great to have you here. And my friend that is always challenging me, I will take you to DSS.
DSS will not bring me back to
you. Kingsley Okafor, you're welcome for joining us.
Bro.
All right. James Akporero, funny scenes you've seen. First of all, let me give you a 5 minutes opening. Tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is James Akporero, you already know. I'm just a man who wants to leave our society better than we met it. That's just my ambition. I want a situation where when I leave, 100, 200 years after I've left, the things I do now will still be discussed generation to generation. I don't aspire to own 10 houses in Lagos or in Abuja or anywhere. I don't aspire to drive big cars. My dream is just to make an impact that will stay, leave footprints and fingerprints on the sands of time.
Wow. Now, let me also give you a little window to talk about this, because it's like something is brewing. In a memorial lecture or a valedictory service for Ike Clark that just passed, the suspended governor of Rivers State, Similai Fubara, said that it is not desperation to be governor. He said, my heart has left the place. He talked about a life of impact that someone like Ike Clark has had, and that is the kind of life he wants to have. And that's what you also said just now, that you want a life of impact. How do you connect with that?
Well, from what Fubara has done, at least the man who is there now confirmed that most of those projects are fully paid. So for me, he has achieved a lot in that 2 years he's been there. You can see a man who wants to affect the lives of River State people, not just a man who wants power. And you see, when godfathers wants to choose somebody to succeed them, they normally go for those they think are yes men. But this time around, he has shown that yes, I can answer yes. But on the second hand, I have my own opinion. And that's what he's telling the world today. That I'm not desperate for power. If you get power, fine. If you don't get power, fine. But I keep telling people, those who affect society are those who spend their hard-earned money to change other people's lives. And I say it 1,000 times. It is not how much you receive every month that defines whether you are rich or poor. It's how many people, how many families benefit from that little money you actually receive. So if you are earning 10 million and nobody's benefiting outside your family, you're a poor man.
Trust.
Okay, I just feel like talking, but we have to get to what we came here for. Defection. What happened in Delta State has never happened anywhere before that I know of in my time. Massive defection from a governor that is not challenged, a governor that is accredited with development, a governor that people's heart are softened towards him because of his governance, suddenly defects from his party that he has been for a long time and defects to the ruling party. What sort of thing is that?
Well, what I have to say is that some people aspire to position just to have power for the sake of power. Some get to positions because they have somebody who puts them into such positions. For those who aspire to positions and work towards them and spend 15, 20 years planning what they will do when they get there, when they arrive in such positions, you can't tell them what to do overnight. They will resist because it is a 20-year dream. But when you get to a position you never in your entire life imagined you are going to get there, obviously history will be waiting for you because you are going to make mistakes. For me, moving out of PDP to APC for the Delta State governor is like leaving a house that is built, well furnished, garnished with everything in the world, state of the art, and moving to an uncompleted building. You want to know why I said that? The APC has gone to now, like we normally say, 2 captains cannot be in a ship. It has to be one. Nobody can guarantee at the end of the day, 2 years before the time, that you get the ticket of APC, because anything can happen.
That's right.
We say 24 hours is a lot of time in politics, not to talk of 2 years. I tell you, from my little investigation, people, I mean the ordinary people, majority of people are disappointed. Because for us, he was doing well. But today, he has shown that it takes more than doing well to truly lead. And you see, when they give you conditions to take power, you have to view those conditions very well. For me, I know one thing for fact, that most people don't get to power because their level of intelligence. They will say, that guy will not comply. You know him now. He will take his position. And if a man cannot take his position, what is the man's worth?
Well, now, question, is this self-preservation or protection against the interest of the people?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. This self-preservation.
Okay, what is a man preserving when he already has everything?
You see, there are 2 things that drives men. Fear and greed.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, 2027 is coming, and everybody's like, do I move? Do I stay? They call it strategic movement. Do I move? Will this place be more advantageous? They are looking at a lot of factors. But fear comes in when you have something in your cupboard you've not been able to cover. You know what they say about criminal cases. You can raise it 30 years after, because maybe the blood was not cleaned properly, or maybe something that will just pop up after 30 years, and you'll still be found liable. For me, it is either fear or greed. But whatever it is, I tell you, Deltans are disappointed. I can tell you for a fact.
All right, let me put this way. Let me even start, first of all, putting this question ahead. You talked about your life epitomizing, Nigeria moving forward, people moving forward, and if that is all that can happen, you are good to go. Peter B made a statement during the launching of IBB's book that Nigeria is worse off today. Imagine several governments have come and gone, and Adesina, the current FDB chairman, said we were better off pre-independence. So, if all governance structure that we've had, all this while, are moving backward in some form, and you want Nigeria to move forward, how do you think you can realize your dream or your personality against this weight?
You see, it takes some level of being unusual to achieve results. Sometimes democracy is good, but there should be some level of totalitarian power.
Okay.
Because you discover that most of the things we have achieved, like creation of states and all that, it was achieved during the military time.
Yeah.
If you get the right man in power and he exercises power properly, you'll be able to move society forward.
Okay.
I'll tell you, most of the time, those who have the vision to rule disagree with about 90% of those who decide who take power, try to stop the person. But let me tell you for a fact, the people are not educated. People are totally aware. They have what it takes to move against their government. You see, they just believe, they've already done it now, what can we do? That's why when you go back to days in the university, you find out that you don't need money to win an election.
Yeah.
The man who has spent so much money, I remember running for presidency for architecture in 1990. The other man who came from a rich background, he drives a car on campus, he spent money, and when we came to, but when I spoke for 2 minutes, they started clapping. And at the end of the day, I got about 70% of the votes. That is in an ideal situation. But we have a situation where the policies of our leaders is deliberate. They keep us poor. They make sure we can't afford the fees to go to school. So if you have a society that is not enlightened, then they cannot take informed decision.
Right under our laws, you know, and I think we have sufficient of that in our executive authorities. You know, Siwaju being able to that we see as Siwaju win places, for example, like in Delta State.
I don't think so. I'll tell you one thing about society. The poor does not admire the rich. He goes there to ask for arms. But I'm sure when they give him 20,000, I'll leave 20,000 and give me. Do you understand? Yeah. So there is always a constant war between the haves
and the have-nots.
So when they oppress us with everything they have, I think that vote is an only power. That's why I'm saying that majority are not carried away. And most of these governors who are moving to APC, they don't even love the president. I can tell you that one for free. I don't know whether it's an arrangement, but we know in politics that you try to put moles in your opponent's team so that he'll be giving you information. I remember some of those elections we were running in school. We had to put moles in, and the other presidential candidate that will be briefing us around 2, 3 a.m. what's going on there, what their plan is. So we don't know what it is. But the truth is, it will not result to victory. I'll give you an example. Okowa ran for, we're expecting that since he was a presidential, he was vice presidential candidate, he should have swept Delta State. He had all the structure, he was paying everybody. And people who wanted contract, who wanted their bills paid. He invited a lot of persons. But what happened at the end of the day? The people decided that they wanted to vote for Peter Obi. I believe that what we need to do is to enlighten the people. If they understand, they have not come to the realization of the amount of, or the enormous power they possess. They have not come to the realization that that vote that they have is very powerful.
Okay, I'll give it back to him. Can you tell us how SDP is positioned in Delta State? I won't say take advantage of this because I do know SDP was actually the first democratic government in a Delta, which you can elaborate for us. What is the positioning of SDP now that APC, the two mighty ones, are merged into one? How is SDP going to come in?
I'll tell you. Since PDP moved, they moved over to APC, we have been getting so many calls. People who have refused to move, they are looking for platforms like the SDP. The SDP, I'm sure, is the only party in Nigeria that is going to allow the son of a nobody to become somebody. Wow. Because we are going to create that platform. The problem with these big parties, and that is what is going to cause the problem for this movement, is that they want to always impose. Who do they want to impose? They want to impose the incompetent over the competent. Because the competent knows what he can deliver, and most of the time he's not ready to listen. Or he will listen when he gets there, he begins to show himself. So those who have the abilities to deliver will not want to fall prey to these leaders. So SDP is going to create an environment, and that's what we tell them. If you come here, there will be primaries. If you do your primaries and you are qualified, you show capacity, just like they do within the 4 walls of the university. We are going to give you the ticket. You don't need to have a father who is a billionaire. Just come and tell us your program. Tell us your ideas. If your ideas is what that can transform society, we're going to give you the opportunity. So the SDP in Delta State, we've been getting calls. In fact, we are beginning to think there's going to be a lot of rush, because for more than 2 weeks, myself and the chairman will be receiving visitors from all over. Because some, how many people left with him? The only people he can control are those who are paid.
The essays.
The essays, and they are not up to 5,000.
Yeah.
And how many voters do we have in Delta State? It's not up to 2 or 3%. Yes, they have said move. For those who will continue to get crumbs for their stomach, they have moved. But a substantial part of them, they are looking for a place. And we're saying SDP is the convenient place to be.
Okay. All right. Now, the defection that we see all around and rumors of defection that we are hearing, and especially those that have made their comments about the president. Though, for example, like Governor of Akwa Ibom State, he said, I will support the president for re-election, and I will support Senator Godswill Akpabio for re-election, though they are on the other party. But he is in PDP as we still speak. Is it a government of acceptance, or a government that has good policy and is performing well? Is that why they are saying this thing, or for what reason really?
You see, one thing about power is that power intoxicates, and absolute power intoxicates absolutely. Most of the time when they get to that corridor of power and they begin to enjoy convoy and all that, they begin to imagine how life would be outside that particular circle. So most of the time, they begin to look at factors. For them, they are being strategic. They're looking at factors. How can I keep my position? And he knows, of course, his position as governor will be threatened if they have a good APC candidate. And I heard even Akpabio has replied that you are going to continue. You see, these people are just trying to survive. They are not sure what will happen, considering the fact that our judiciary has not helped. They've not helped issues. Sometimes I tell somebody I'm ashamed that I'm a lawyer. It's not because I'm better than those who are giving these decisions, but because if the court is the last hope of the common man, and today we begin to get conflicting judgments, we begin to get things that tend to pretend that there is a back door where they are being controlled. So for that fear alone, most of them are falling into line. Not because they love rich policies that have left us poor, policies that have increased, all the factors. I can't go into naming that. I guess everybody knows that. It's an open truth. Nobody is carried away. But I tell you one thing for free. It is going to be elections. Not between governors or how many governors that move. It's going to be between Nigerians and Tinubu. And I tell you, a hungry man is not a man you can negotiate with.
Okay, the president, as we've seen him, and I've said it before, is majorly focused on politics. From inception of this administration, it has been politics and politics. But in real life, in government, it's done that way. There's a time to seek for elective post as president. When you get it, you sit down and govern. We have not seen that really from this president. We've seen subsidy removed. We've seen the Naira parallel. We've seen those things, and it has not benefited us as a people. Some of us spoke about the way the subsidy was removed, the cushioning that is supposed to come afterwards. We can see it. The money is shifted to the state. We don't see the performance in the state. So many of these things, but the president doesn't talk about them. Do you think he will one day sit down and govern instead of doing politics, defections all over the place?
Well, for me, the president is just interested in coming back for a second tenure. sometimes I begin to tell myself, is he treating us like this because there is a general belief that he didn't win the elections, and this is payback time? Because as a president, you have a right to decide who occupies positions. But we want to believe that even if the people you appoint to positions are skilled, Nigeria is loaded with a lot of competent people. You can still use competent people to get the job done.
Like you.
Of course.
So getting the job done is the first business. In fact, in some climes, they will tell you politics is over. I remember George Bush of the US wanting his opponent to work in his government. And when he offered him a position, the guy said he was not going to take the position. You know what he did? He went to visit the guy in the house. He told the guy in his face, I know you don't like me, but come and work for America. I can't immediately remember the name of that person, but he said, come and work for America. And the guy took his bag, accepted the appointment, and went to work for America.
I think, was it Mitt Romney or something? I can't remember.
Mitt Romney has always been Republican.
Yes.
You know, so the point is, there is a time to work.
I think Rice also. Or maybe, I can't remember.
You know, you say there is a time to work. And when that time comes, let's put our parties aside and let's get the job done. But when somebody cannot get the job done, of course, what do you expect? Because if you can get the job done and you can score 90%, it's obvious that even the blind will know you have performed. But when somebody cannot get the job done, the person has to tilt to politics.
Okay, I will give you quite some sizable time to talk about SDP. Not just SDP in Delta, the ideology of SDP and how SDP will try or will make this country a better country. Personally, I've met the chairman of SDP, quite an interesting person, and his personality, the mayor, is lovely. But I'll give you the time to talk about SDP generally.
You see, SDP as a party is people-driven. You see, when you talk about government as a contract between the led and those they are leading, a situation where you have a contract you want to fulfill, your interest is the interest of the people. You mentioned just now that fuel subsidy was removed without the necessary cushioning effect. SDP as a government is thinking about the people. Yes, it's good to take bold decisions. You need to take bold decisions. People will eventually get used to it. Yes. But we were saying, what is the resultant effect of such bold decisions? And SDP has been there. That's the platform Abiola used to win the election. And even in my states, architects Felix Olorogo Ibro also used the platform. So SDP is not a new party. And SDP is not being rebranded. SDP has been SDP since 1989 when it was registered. I tell you for free, democracy is not as defined by our leaders. Democracy is creating an environment where the voice of a nobody can be heard. And that is what SDP intends to do. We intend to create a platform where the best of the best can come on. And where we'll create an opportunity where you get people who are driven. Because when you talk of the best, they are going to be assessed with all those parameters. You have to be a good leader. You have to be compassionate. You see, compassion is one part of it that people don't understand in politics. They are good. They are not good or bad decisions per se. But what is the resulting effect on the people? SDP as a party is out to ensure that we move our society some steps in the right direction. Because no one government can achieve everything in 4 years.
Okay, but it has also been, SDP has always been accused of being a dumping ground of aggrieved politicians that doesn't have their place in PDP or APC. Now, they feel that they can realize their dream or their aggrieved purpose. Someone like El-Rufai, for example, he has issues with APC. was nominated as a minister, was not passed, and he's been having a forth and back with the state governor. So now he feels the only way to deal with the ruling party is to go to another party, and now he sees SDP as a ground. So people are saying, El-Rufai, questionable character. Do you think is going into SDP will mean something good for the country? What do you make of that? SDP as a dumping ground for failed politicians.
See, talking about the personality of El-Rufai, I've had the privilege of reading El-Rufai's book that on accidental civil servant. If you read that book, you will be talking about El-Rufai this way. El-Rufai refused to give money to senators when he was nominated by Obasanjo as minister. He refused to give money to senators. You know, it's a tradition that when you want to face the Senate, you need to grease some hands. So some people came forward to say, pay this and pay that. El-Rufai refused. El-Rufai refused to take bribes at different times. El-Rufai refused attempts by Atiku. Even when Atiku was head of the, what were they doing then?
BPE.
Yes, he refused. If you read that book, you will understand the personality of El-Rufai. You see, I don't want to judge people, you know, by saying this one is this one is that. But I know one thing for free. El-Rufai is bold. El-Rufai does not. If El-Rufai that I know from, I mean, you know what it means to have an idea and put it down in writing. I'm sure if Atiku is reading that book, he'll be embarrassed. If Obasanjo is reading that book, Obasanjo will be embarrassed. You know what Obasanjo said when he wanted to make him minister? He said, call that stubborn boy. I know we disagree a lot, but I'll give you the opportunity. Go and do something about FCT. What am I trying to tell you? If you read about El-Rufai and follow his trajectory, you will know that El-Rufai is a man you must respect.
But what we have seen of him do as governor, it doesn't speak good stuff about him. Now, there are other people too that are rumored to be coming in, though they've not declared. People like Malami, former Minister for Attorney General and Minister for Justice, and some other questionable character to which a lot of people feel they put Nigeria into this doldrum of economic quagmire, you know. So, does it make SDP a questionable party?
No. Let me tell you something you must realize in politics. It is a collection of the good, the bad, and the ugly. In politics, everybody has a role to play. They call it the nuisance role. You are not going to have, if a church is supposed to be a collection of Christians, why are we preaching? Are you getting the point?
Yeah.
I mean, people come straight from club.
Yeah.
Okay, imagine the last day of the year,
Yeah.
31st. People will drive all the way from 10 minutes to the year. All the churches will be filled. The moment you say Happy New Year, they prayed into the New Year, everybody will go back to the club. So what I'm saying in essence is, it doesn't matter who is coming in. And like a father, he say, God blesses both Christians and non-Christians. He said the rain will fall on both the believers and the non-believers. SDP is not a dumping ground. SDP is a platform for everybody, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you're saying they are gathering there because they didn't have power, no. Let me tell you one thing straight. If the president that we all know wanted El-Rufai to be minister, he would have been minister. He wasn't stopped anywhere. He was the president who sent his name there, changed his mind, and decided that he should not be minister. The president you know, who knows what to do, who knows how to play politics and get results, he wanted somebody as president and he didn't want to achieve it. But he was able to achieve endorsement of what happened in Rivers. He did all that.
Yeah.
He would have been able to get him as minister, just that he changed his mind along the line that he didn't want him as minister again. Not that the Senate stopped him. The truth of the matter is, it is politics they are playing. But if people are bold enough to say, we all know we are suffering, are you expecting Nigerians, everybody to keep quiet? Then those who are bold enough to come out and say, no, this suffering cannot continue, you now begin to tag them. that they are disgruntled. They are not. They are bold and fearless. And especially now that they are being thrown and arrested and dealt with, in spite of those harassment, they have decided on their own that they can still come together and face the government. It's like facing a moving train. It's not easy. We must commend them.
Okay,
all right. On record, like you've highlighted, Olorogun Felix Ibro was the first democratic governor of Delta State under SDP. And it was very remarkable the achievement he had within a very short time. He had a vision for Delta. And can you look back and kind of be able to say, oh, those visions set by Olorogun Felix Ibro have been achieved, or they are even halfway into that direction, or this government so far from the time of James Ibori to where we are today have given us an alternative that is better.
You see, he came up with a master plan, but for all intents and purposes, no one is following that master plan now. Because what you find out is that when there's a new captain, he wants to tread a path that will give him enough crumbs to feed those who brought him to power. That's what we've discovered. So 90% of time, we don't have continuity in government. You see a white elephant project that they started, and you can start one, a different one. It's like everybody's looking for where to put his name in the history books. 90% of them, if this country were followed from where the last person, we won't be where we are today. And the story of that, we were better off in 1960 will not even arise in the first place. But we have a problem where a new government comes in, they forget everything the other one has done, or they are trying to call the other one names and say most of those projects they are not viable. Yeah. I think that's the challenge we have. And that's the same thing with Delta State. And you see, because he's an architect, I'll tell you something about architects that's very normal. You see, from the very beginning, on paper, we're already living in those buildings. Yeah. We create those spaces. We watch, from the mind's eye, we drive into your facility, we go in, we take the stairs, we come into the living room, there's a visitor's toilet. You see all these things, we see it from our mind's eye. So the architect is somebody who plans the entire finished product, but not a line yet on paper. So thinking from that point, he built something that every other person would have followed, but they are not following it. And you know, most of the time, some of these leaders don't truly have ideas. And those who have ideas, they don't want them on board. They want people they will give instructions to, and they will not ask questions.
All right. No matter how lofty your plans or your manifestos are, you need to win election to implement them.
Sure.
And when you have a kind of social contract with the people, like SDP has always said, you need to connect the people to the power, and the people are the one with the forces. What is the voter education program on ground in Delta to ensure that the people know their power? Yes, Delta are voters that have their mind. It was established even in the last election. Okay, but now, how do you educate voters? Because at the end of the day, in our last session in there, we were discussing about Nigerian voters acting like conquered people. Yeah. They tend to tilt towards the person that has money. You know, it was only in case of P2B that we saw some really drastic change. How are you going to present those that are going to be the flag bearers at all levels, not minding their financial muscle, but making them attractive candidates that the people will vote for?
First of all, you find out that most of these new parties, they just sit back and wait for the major parties to conduct elections. When they finish conducting elections, they begin to collect fallouts. They begin to run and start looking for tickets. And you know, to win any election, you need at least a minimum of 2 years' work.
That's right.
First of all, you have to do a need analysis, go from community to community, finding out what the community truly needs. Then you put all together. Then when you visit these communities and you begin to tell the communities, I'm going to provide this. Yeah. Somebody in the community say, this man, like, say, know our problems. Yeah. Do you understand that point? Yeah. So what we intend to do is that, one, we are starting voters' education. I'm privileged, as we speak, to be in charge of the polling units community.
Yeah.
They call it polling unit ambassadors, where we are going to take the education right from the national to the polling unit. Okay. And we are going to educate them. You know, there was a big mistake during the last elections.
Yeah.
We were deceived that the moment they just transfer the figures, it will just get to RF and you can go back home. So we need to tell them, no.
We are going ahead of you.
Let us all count the votes, follow the votes until it is announced at the very peak. Yeah. So now there's going to be voters education. Now we're going to encourage those who want to run on our platform to indicate interest early and show us their plan, how they intend to go about going for their elections. I remember when I was running for House of Reps in 2003. That was my first election. What did I do? I just wrote a piece of paper. I said, who is James Akporero? Full color. I did like 5,000 posters and put it in the whole 2 local government. And to discuss that poster, as beautiful as it is, you need to ask that question, who is James Akporero? Within 1 month, the entire political class, including everybody, knew that name, James Akporero. What I'm trying to say in essence is, SDP is not going to say, just come and run on our platform. We'll be there to assist you, to plan, so that you will go back to the grassroots and do the needful. I remember when I got into reading law in 1997, I knew from first year that I was going to run for the presidency of the Law Students Association in my 400 level. So for my first year, I started planning. I became chief whip. Every activity in the department, I'm always there. And when it came to running for the presidency of Lausanne, I won. And I was the first non-Rivers or non-Bayelsa to be president. Nobody gave any other person a chance. If you are non-Rivers, because those are the 2 institutions that own the university at that time. But because I started for 4 years with nobody noticing what I was doing, by the time he came to run for presidency, you discover that I know him, he belongs to my association. Oh, I know him, he's my friend. I know him, he has done this for me. So what we are going to do is that, yes, it's a social contact, but we are going to give them, they are going to come with, we're going to give them templates.
Okay, let me give you this before I'll probably need Mike back. Okay. You talk about early risers. Yes. SDP, do they have the internal control mechanism or power of checkmating money bags such that those who might have indicated their interest now, we're almost about 2 years away, but after the general primaries by the big parties in Cobra, but I don't know how big they are, this guy called them men in oversized shoes. Men in oversized shoes and oversized clothes. so after they fall out, a lot of them are going to lose their primaries, particularly now that PDP and APC are matched.
Of course.
So when they come back with their money bags, are you not going to tell your early risers who in some form might not have been too known politically, but they do have their measures and they do have their records behind them? Are you not going to tell them to step down?
I can tell you for free. Because, you see, life, like I said, is about greed or fear. For some of us, we have already told ourselves that power comes from God.
That's right.
Financial empowerment comes from heaven.
Yeah.
I remember as an architect and a lawyer, there were times I couldn't feed my family.
Yeah.
And I was asking myself, with all the education and training, what is happening? But when the money started coming, I could not even explain, because it was not because I was not working hard. So there's a time and season for these things. If we have a candidate that has worked for 2 years, and we are sure, we'll rather invest money in that candidate. You know, there are abilities. If you have an idea and somebody has money, you can do partnership because he comes with his idea. And if his idea is overwhelming, you will invest in him. A good idea finds support. So if we see somebody who has the credibility, somebody who has the ability and has worked for 2 years, we'll rather tell those ones who are coming to back that one.
That's right.
Will that be what you want to do? Like, can we hold you on that?
Go ahead, you can hold me on.
You want call police?
because we are used to them telling us we'll make $1 one night, we'll make this one, and we never.
And one day they tell that the change starts with
the
you.
change starts with you again. Meanwhile, they told us the change was going to start with them. In 2015, that's what they told us.
Even the president told us that if after 4 years I cannot give you lights, constant lights,
Vote me out.
Vote me out.
So do you have constant light now?
We don't have constant.
So I can decide where I want to vote. Now, all right. Now, there's some things I normally say. If a governor defects from one party to the other and he has an array of supporters following him, you think the whole state has defected. I think we are coming to the consciousness gradually of people knowing that my vote is my right and is my weapon of war to do justice.
Sure.
We saw it in Lagos State. We saw it in Delta State. We saw it in Edo State. We saw it in Plateau State. When Labour that didn't have one elected position,
No structure.
nothing, won overwhelmingly in states that they didn't have a governor, one in a state that the president came from, one in a state that a vice presidential candidate of another party, that's Okowa, came from. Do you think that defection will mean that they will win that particular state?
The answer is capital no. And I will tell you why. You see, at the level, hunger is pains. And you see, you can't negotiate. The only thing you can use in negotiating with somebody who is hungry is to give the person food. And right now, from what has happened in the last 2 years, I don't see any magic happening. Are you getting the point? So the fact that they have moved to one party, no. What is happening now is that, okay, so we mumu, fella talking before, zombie, go left, go right. People are beginning to resist.
No, but if I comment there, just to, do you by any means think that these governors moving, because they said until you are inside, you really don't know what might happen. These governors are inside, they are operating our policy. You know, they have a way, you watch music from where you are standing.
Sure.
Do you think these governors and co believe that the president is actually performing, and that is why they are going there, you know, giving them benefit of that? Do you think they believe that?
I don't think so, because if we look at the comments they made before they joined, before they jumped ship to APC, those comments are comments, one credited to the FCT minister. Oh, how can you leave your party and go and die? You know, there were comments.
APC like cancer,
that cancer or something. You know, you look at even the governor of Delta State, the comments he made, I mean, just a few months ago, that would tell you that nothing has changed in his mind. The only thing that has changed is that if I move over, my chances of going for a second tenure will be brighter if they give me the ticket. That's the only thing that has changed. And I tell you, that's what I'm saying. I don't know whether this galaxy of deflection is a strategy. Because like I told you, those days when we were running for Students' Union presidency, we used to put moles in our opponents. Make sure that maybe we'll get somebody who will now end up to be his campaign manager or something. Then around 3 a.m., you slip into a room and tell, this is what they're planning. Because I remember I was running for one election and they made up their mind that if I win that election, they will shoot their enemy. And when they were counting the votes, somebody walked up to me and said, "Bros, leave this place now." So it was a Delta. So I just carried my things and left. I went back and slept off. About 5 hours after, Akporero, a crowd came to carry me that I had won the election. What point am I trying to say?
Yeah.
We don't know whether these deflections are all mirage. Because they might be deflecting to create the impression that they are supporting the president. Meanwhile, they are going there to get to know
by time.
So it's very difficult to say that shows that they are supporting.
But one, just in probing a little bit further, one would wonder what, do I call it a shared or protection, a sitting governor who by their own standard today wasn't performing too badly, you know, what sheriff could sheriff be looking for? What protection? What could he be looking for? He has immunity, and Deltans are not even.
He has money.
Deltans are not among. I don't know whether he has money.
No.
Let me tell you.
No, we know he has money.
I'm one of those
From
who,
state allocation.
Yeah, no. See, I'm one of those who do. Yeah, he has money. They control it. But I've never really seen a politician's money as money. Owners of houses, they can't say.
Oh no. I'm not talking about personal money. No, I'm not talking about personal money.
Okay.
I'm talking about from where Delta is.
Okay.
The allocation that goes to
That's
them
right.
is enough for him to do whatever he wants.
That's right.
Yeah.
So everybody in some form believe is probably trying. You know, what could he be running for?
See. Let me tell you something. There's something you need to realize. The man who is intelligent and developed is fearless. Education gives you
Confidence.
bragging rights.
Yeah,
I used to tell people, I can visit the governor with bedroom slippers.
that's right.
If he gives me 3 minutes to talk, he will know that it is not what I'm wearing. It is what I came to discuss with.
Yeah.
I think that is the challenge. You need to develop yourself to a point where you become fearless. Because sometimes I ask myself, what do I really need? I mean, is it that I need to, you have 10 houses, bros, you will still sleep in one side of the bed.
One room.
Then one side of the bed, not the bed though.
If you sleep 3 rooms within that night, people will think you are mad. Next morning, they will rush your guy to hospital.
And don't forget to, it is not the bed he's sleeping. He's sleeping on
Something is wrong with Oga.
He's sleeping on one side
of
of
the
the bed. So you are asking yourself, are they doing it because of what? And for the man who is educated, he is looking at, okay, just like Fubora said, for the period I've stayed, I've achieved this much. Even if I don't become governor again, the records are there. So, to show. So if he has performed so far, and he is entertaining any level of fear, how can you come and tell us that in Delta, with the kind of money we're seeing in Delta, that you want to connect us to the center? But Okowa was governor for 8 years. He did not connect us to the center in that 8 years. It is now they have decided that he should connect us to the center so that we can benefit from. There's nothing to benefit. If you like it or not, it is from those oil states that presidential elections are financed in this country. I don't want to drive that too far, but that's where the funds are coming from. This one you are talking about now, I won't be surprised if the issue of River State has to do with funds. At least Amechi said that.
Yeah.
Plainly that.
Amechi said that.
He said it clearly. That this is an issue of
Nobody
money.
has refuted it.
And nobody has refuted it.
No, none of the parties.
Yeah.
So the point is, the issue of connecting us to center so that we can benefit from the center does not arise. But I see it as personal survival. But to what end? I cannot.
Okay, let's start winding down.
Okay.
It's been a pleasurable ride knowing about all that has been happening from the presidency to Delta State to SDP. Now, I want to ask categorically, do you think SDP stands a chance?
SDP stands a chance if SDP will follow through with the idea.
Do you think they'll follow through? Because you are a member of an executive of a state, in fact, you are the secretary, so you are very, very close to the corridors of the hierarchy of SDP, even nationwide.
SDP will follow through. Because I think what people are looking forward to is seeing a system that is fair. If I want to accept defeat in an election, I want to be sure my opponent defeated me fair and square, then I can back my opponent. I think that's the problem we have in most of this. These ones people I'm leaving from one party to the other is because they think, oh, I'm more popular. The guy just came in and they just took the power from me. But if he goes into a contest and he loses the election, he will wait for another day. And I think SDP creating that environment and seeing it through will now produce people who will now say, okay, he defeated me fair and square, let me support him, so that another time I will have the opportunity to run. Then we will bring in democracy as defined in our textbooks.
Okay. It's been a worthwhile journey. 1 hour has just slipped by very slowly, and it's been beautiful with you. Okafor, first of all, thank you for staying with us.
Yeah.
And architect, barrister, mathematician, James Akporero. thank you for coming by. We hope to have you some other times so that we can juggle on this.
Maybe after the presidential elections,
that's-
when SDP has taken it. But if you can come early, I want to watch work in progress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I can follow
Thank
up
you
on
for
it.
having me.
Yeah. All right. It's been Voting Arena on Landslide. It's been wonderful having you around. Thank you for staying around. We'll see you some other time.